All India services, you have separate condition rules as well as there will be little more perks for All India services. Got that? And as I've told you, for civils prelims and forest service, there is common prelims. Prelims is common, and for mains that's different. Whereas in civil services means you have to choose one optional, but in forest service you have to choose two optionals. So we are not going to discuss today the entire exam structure of forest service. Let us restrict that to prelims itself. Now coming to cutoffs, let me tell you about the cutoffs. Suppose take for example, civil service prelims cutoff comes around 110, then forest service prelims will be in the range of 115 to 120. So every year, the difference of cutoffs between civil service prelims and forest service prelims is close near to 20 marks. So if you read thoroughly your civil service prelims, then there is a high chance that you can crack that forest service as well. And mind you, coming to the schedule of mains, your forest service mains will be 50 days ahead of civil service mains. So if suppose somebody is writing very well with the prelims, soon after writing the exam, by the second or third day, you'll come to know about the marks you are able to score. So depending on the marks, you can prepare parallelly. Since GS is both common for civil service and mains, and the forest service means you have to prepare only the optionals in extra. Am I clear with that?
Yeah, okay.
So these are the services you find here, Indian Administrative Service. And Indu, since you asked yesterday, these are the content of services. You can just go through that. All right. And giving the preference of these services, you have to do that once you clear mains. You have to fill up your detailed application form where you'll be giving your order of preference for entire these listed services. All right. So can I move on to the next one?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Now coming to the main notification part. Why I stress notification much in the orientation session? You'll be able to feel the difference when I complete the session, because 70 to 80% of the students they just take the notification regarding only the number of posts given, but the entire hints lies in the notification itself. So starting with that, let me tell you first about the marking pattern in the exam. Okay. So civil service prelims is all about two papers, paper one and paper two. Paper one is general studies and paper two is like civil service aptitude test, where you score 33% of the marks, then you'll be qualified. See, the exam is for 200 marks, right? So you have to score 33% in that to get qualified for your mains, which is around 66 marks. Okay. Now coming say to the other subjects as well. Now coming to the duration, that's like 200 marks each paper. Paper one will be having 100 questions, carries 2 marks each with one third negative. Paper two carries 80 questions with one third negative, but 2.5 mark each. So only if you score 33% in paper 2, you will be eligible for your paper 1 evaluation. And let me tell you, there are some students, suppose if you feel the paper 1 is hard, you can't just skip writing paper 2, because you never know when paper is too hard, cutoff may immediately come down. Because in 2016, cutoff for prelims was 116, and the next year suddenly it went down to 98. See, depending upon the toughness of the paper, the cutoff comes down. So it's always better to attempt both papers instead of attempting only one paper, because if you don't attempt the second paper, your attempt will go in waste. Your first paper won't be evaluated, you'll be disqualified. Am I clear with that?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Now coming to mains examination, we'll see about the different marking patterns and the number of papers. Totally we have 9 papers in mains examination, and out of that 2 papers are compulsory. Like paper 1, you have to choose from any of the Indian language given in 8th schedule. In 8th schedule of the constitution there are around 22 languages. You can choose among them which you prefer. And let me tell you, each of these papers carries 3 hours duration, and only these compulsory papers carries 300 marks. Rest all the papers carries 250 marks. And now same in CSAT prelims, here also the cutoff percentage has been decided. Like you have to score here 25%, which is around 75 marks. So only if you score 75 marks in both of these papers, rest of your mains papers will be evaluated in the along with the people who have cleared prelims. All right. So if you fail to score any of the 75 marks in any of these paper, then all of your other papers will not be evaluated along with the prelims. I mean, along with the people who cleared prelims, but later. All right, got it. Why this is very important? Because there are some subjects like Kannada literature where you have to put more stress on, because from the past 2 years, the compulsory subject of Kannada later turned out to be very tough. Okay, English you can manage it if you just saw last 5 years papers, and if you are from Karnataka, like your compulsory subject is Kannada, then you have to stress more upon that with 1 week to 10 days of your preparations. All right. And now coming to the syllabus, the various subtopics in these papers I'll be discussing later. As of now, this is only regarding marks. Okay. Now coming to essay paper, essay is for 250 marks. In essay paper, you have to answer two essays. There will be section A and section B. And in each section, you'll be given 4 essays, out of which you have to answer one. All right. So you have to answer 2 essays in total, which carries 250 marks, same 3 hours duration. But nowadays, essays papers turned out to be very complex because in both sections, you will be given 4 essays, right? Out of which 2 will be definitely philosophical essays. So scoring essay paper, it entirely depends upon your choice of picking up the essay at the time of the exam. Suppose, let us take the trend. If you choose any philosophical essay, then it depends upon how well you justify it. Because the person who evaluates your essay paper should get connected and should feel like you have justified the statement given in the essay. So while choosing essay, be careful that you are choosing it right. So once you attempt an essay, you have to complete it and you can never go back, because if you just strike off the essay and go back, that may create the negative impression. Okay. So in essay, UPSC, as I've told you, UPSC will give hint about what the evaluator is expecting from essay in the next slide. Okay. So essay is for 250 marks. And now next we have 4 general studies papers of 250 marks each. All right. Next, among the general studies papers, let me remind you, these general studies for ethics, integrity, and aptitude, it's very much deciding, because rest 3 general studies papers, you will be covering them 40 to 50% if you prepare thoroughly in prelims. Prelims is all about exhaustive reading, okay, and mains is all about reading in depth and writing the answers analytically. So only if you are able to read properly for prelims, you will be able to answer the questions in your mains papers. Now coming to ethics paper, this paper consists of 2 sections, section A and section B. Section A will be completely testing your theoretical knowledge and concepts in ethics like integrity, aptitude, and the various forms of concepts given in the syllabus. And section B will be on something known as case studies. I'll be explaining them in the next slide. So here in total, we have 4 general studies papers of 250 marks each. Now coming to optional subjects, there is a list of optional papers suggested by UPSC, out of which you have to pick them one. So that will be of 2 papers each paper 3 hours duration of 250 marks each. Now, what are the optional subjects suggested by UPSC? I'll be showing you in the next screen share. Okay, so in total, your mains will be for 1750 marks, and rest interview will be the so-called personality test will be for 275 marks. Now, let me tell you regarding the trends of personality test. If you are like, if you have answered normally, okay, kind of thing, you can expect the score around 140. Or if you're good, you're expecting, I mean, you have answered very well without bluffing and all, you can expect more than 160, and all India highest being 210 till now. So if the persons who are conducting your interview feels like you're eligible for the service, they will award you marks between 120 to 200. And suppose there is some blunder in the interview, then they deliberately gives you 80 marks, which is the least, so that you doesn't qualify for finalist. So let me tell you, since your finalist marks depends upon your written part and interview part, so have a safe bank that even if your interview doesn't go well on that day, have a safe bank that you write your mains very well, so that you can edge off 35 to 40 marks in mains itself. Okay, this is all about the marking pattern for UPSC. And now Chandana, if you have any doubts regarding the marking pattern, you can just let me know.
Oh, no. It's all clear.
Okay, fine.
No, we are clear.
Okay, we'll move on to the next one. All right. So this is the thing, and here there is the list of optional subjects for mains exams provided by UPSC. Hope you are able to see the screen, right? If not, tell me now.
No, we can see it.
So these are the list of optional subjects for mains exam, starting with agriculture. So this is the list of optional subjects given by UPSC. You have to choose from these subjects. Okay. And now there is, since let me tell you, your mains exam, your rank or the number of marks you score in the mains exam depends on 3 papers mainly. One is essay, the other thing is ethics, and third thing is optional. So choosing optional, since it carries 500 marks, is very, very, very much important. Okay, if you even observe the mark sheet of previous toppers, they will be for in normal general studies papers, they will be in the close range of 9 to, I mean, 10 to 15 marks. Rest every GS paper they'll be having the same score. The difference only they make is that they will score very well in the essay, ethics, as well as optional paper. So choosing an optional and sticking to it for the long term plays a vital role. Now, there may be a lot of questions regarding how an optional subject should be selected. See, if you're very much interested in your academic subjects, definitely there is no doubt you can go for that. But selecting an optional depends on two factors. One is availability of material and guidance. If the material is good, that too, collecting random material doesn't work for optional. The material should be arranged syllabus and topic wise. Only then it will be easy for you to re-revise, because if you observe, there will be, see, leave about this year and last year mains. Okay, we had some 4 to 5 number of comfortable days for revising optional, but in the previous years there was only 2 days gap between general studies papers and optional papers. So imagine you have to revise the entire optional paper within a gap of 2 days. That would be only possible when you have read the optional syllabus wise. So you have to be very wise when choosing an optional. And second things, suppose you don't have any subject of particular interest, then how to go for an optional subject? As we have seen, there are many optional subjects options given here. That may be sociology, that may be PubPad, that may be anthropology, or whatever. So for most of these subjects, you will find class 12th NCRT books in the website. That may be NoteMonk website, that may be Brunel website, or that may be ePathasala website. So what you can do is that if you have access to hard copy, but only if you have access to soft copies, download class 12th NCRTs of that concerned subject, sit with those books for 1 or 2 days. See whether the subject is interesting you to read, or you are getting bored, like you are not able to sit it for 2 to 3 hours. So only if that subject interests you, and if you are able to sit with the subject for 2 to 3 hours, only then you can choose the right option in a correct way, right? So does anybody have any doubt regarding the choosing an optional? They can let me know now. Is it clear?
దోస్తున్నాను వేరేది ఫ్రెండ్
Okay, is the optional clear?
Yes, sir, it is clear.
Okay, I'll move on to the next one. And now coming to the syllabus, as well as there are certain kinds of hints given by UPSC itself when giving the syllabus. As you can see, there is a syllabus given for preliminary exam as well as mains exam. Okay, now coming to the note first, we'll deal with the paper 2 first, then we'll come back to paper 1. Now paper 2, these are the subtopics under CSAT. One is reading comprehension, and in your entire question bank of 80 questions which you get in the exam, 25 to 30 questions will be based upon reading comprehensions. Paper, prelims paper past 3 to 4 years was different. There the questions were of comprehensive paragraphs which were chosen were of general nature. But to filter out more students, since you would have known 3000 to 4000 students every year get filtered in the prelim stage just because of CSAT, just because they are not able to score even 66 marks in paper 2. Why? Because deliberately UPSC has made paper 2 more time consuming. Take for example of this subconcept comprehension. Initially they used to lift out general comprehensions, but nowadays they are giving comprehension in such a way that that comprehension would be directly related to your static subjects in paper 1, like geography, history, polity, and majority of comprehensions would be related to climate change. So that whenever you are reading comprehension, students tend to make mistakes, that instead of sticking to what is given in the comprehension, since they would have read about environment and geography previously, because of the prejudice about the subjects, they'll be thinking about that knowledge and they'll be attempting the answers wrong. So whenever you're attempting comprehension questions, just stick yourself to what is given in the comprehension and answer accordingly. So since 25 to 30 questions will be given here, so if you're comfortable in English, if you just score 25 to 30 comprehensions out of the 25 correct, then 70% of the marks you would have scored by then. Then coming to this interpersonal skills, communication skills, and decision making, there will be statements given, 5 to 10 questions in the form of statements given, and there will be options given, and you have to choose the right course of action. That tests your interpersonal skills and decision making skills. Now coming to general mental ability, logical reasoning, and basic numeracy. See, this is the hint you have to take from the notification. As you can see, numbers and their relations, orders of magnitude, they are of class 10th level. Please take a note of it. People who are at maths, they definitely feel low when answering CSAT paper because they think that they are not good at math. But UPSC deliberately made it all the numeracy problems will be of class 10th level itself, and that too you're smart enough, if you solve last 5 years CSAT papers, you'll get to know that suppose on a page you think that there are 3 to 4 main math questions. In that, 1 or 2 easy questions will be fitted in middle of the paper. So that it's all about at the right time picking the right easy questions. See, suppose 10 to 15 questions are given out of numeracy, then answering those 5 easy questions will give an edge of around 15 marks. So answering English and decision making and these 5 to 10 easy questions will help you to sail through CSAT. You don't have to fear for that. As given in the note itself, the questions will be of multiple choice and you have to mandatorily attend in both papers in the prelims exam. Now, does anybody have any doubt regarding paper 2 comprehension? Let me know CSAT paper. Any doubts regarding CSAT paper?
No.
Okay. Now we'll move on to the first paper then. Okay, preliminary examination. We'll see the syllabus given duration. Now let me tell you, for prelims, as I've told you in CSAT, for prelims paper 1 will be of 100 questions, right? So 40 to 45 questions will be directly lifted from NCRTs. Okay, 10 to 15 questions will be directly lifted from newspapers. 10 questions will be indirectly or directly asked from previous papers. Okay, so generally people who clear prelims is like the questions of NCRTs based upon NCRTs, there will be 40 to 45 questions, right? So they never commit mistakes in that basic question. Suppose you have answered 40 to 45 questions correctly, you would have got enough benchmark of 70 to 80 marks then and there itself. Then what they will do, since they would have followed the current affairs regularly, then 15 questions more will make them sail through 100 plus, which will be easy for them to clear prelims. Okay. The rest of the questions, let me tell you, 30 to 35 questions, even all India topper doesn't know exactly what the answer for that. They'll be attempting those questions using the concept of elimination techniques based upon the knowledge gained by them previously by reading remaining general studies subject. All right. So this is in brief about the questions distribution of paper 1 of prelims examination. Now we'll see the topics, each topic subtopic wise. Now coming to first thing, current events of national and international importance. Are you able to see the screen? Confirm me.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first subtopic, current events of national and international importance. The important word what you have to take care of here is that it's current events mentioned. Whereas in mains, the stress would be on current issues.
ఆన్లైన్ క్లాస్ చెప్తుంటే వింటున్నా ఫీడ్బ్యాక్ అడిగాడు.
So there will be current issues for mains. Okay. Whereas for current events,
ఆన్లైన్ కోచింగ్
I think there is some disturbance there. Can somebody mute it?
అందులో 41 ఏమో అదర్ స్టేట్స్ నుంచి వచ్చినాడు.
Hello.
Yes, it's audible.
Okay. Now coming to stage 1 preliminary examination. Here you have to take the keywords here. The first sub concept of current events of national and international importance. Hold on guys, 1 second. Don't mind.
హైకోర్టు అడిగిందిగా తెలంగాణ ప్రభుత్వాన్ని. ఇక్కడ వాయిస్ చాలా అడుగుతున్నా. తెలంగాణ ప్రభుత్వం హైకోర్టు అటార్నీ జనరల్ అడిగి చెప్తాను గవర్నమెంట్.
Okay guys, sorry for the disturbance. Now coming to the first topic, as I've told you, current events of national and international importance. Here you have to mind the word events because for mains they'll be specifically mentioning about current issues. The major difference is that, take for example, there are many international and national organizations. Take for example like BRICS or G20. They'll be assembling every year in one place or the other, and they'll be coming up with one or the other declaration. So events is that where you have to take note of where that event is taking place, all right, and what is the declaration from that. So questions will be of that nature, all right. So whereas in current issues you have to relate your static concepts with the current affairs given, and current events here you have to note that word event. Okay, So you have to clearly pick out from the newspapers where a summit is exactly going to take place, what's the declaration, and what is the background of that. So 3 to 5 questions will be based upon those events. Now coming to next subtopic, history of India and international movement. See, take the wordings here. It is like mentioned and. So history of India and international movement, more stress would be given upon international movement. Otherwise, you would have just mentioned about history of India, right? So he has specifically given that international movement, you have to focus more where most of the questions will be lifted up. Now coming to history of India, there will be ancient, medieval and modern history. But coming to UPSC questions pattern, most of the questions will be modern Indian history and some from ancient and medieval, that too only in culture perspective. All right. So confirm me whether you are clear with the first two subtopics.
Yes.
Okay. Now coming to third one, Indian and world geography. Here the clear is here the syllabus is clearly given like physical, social, economic geography of India and the world. Now again taking the keyword and here it is mentioned in two terms. One is India and the second one is world. Now 70% of the questions in your prelims geography will be from India perspective, and rest 30% of world is that they'll be picking up questions from important events taken. Again, every syllabus like history is static, like geography, environment, and economy will be related to these current events of national and international importance. So, in world, suppose you take the example of recent standoff between India and China, you would be hearing a lot about them in newspapers. So, that is taking place around Garwan Valley, and also you should know about where is a line of actual control, where is Aksai whether it is north or south of Karakoram. So, these all the stuff you should know, and most of the questions of world geography will be on map pointing based. Okay, so if you read thoroughly the geography NCERTs and if you're clear with your map pointing, this subsection should not be a problem for you. And now coming to the next one, Indian polity and governance. For all these topics, there is a single source where if you read it thoroughly continuously, you will be able to answer it. Again, in Indian polity, with questions will be static with respect to these topics. Along with that, suppose take the case of 12 to 15 questions from Indian polity, 7 to 8 will be from static portion, and rest 4 to 5 will be lifted from current affairs again in the form of policies, in the form of bills passed by parliament sessions and all. Okay, now coming to the next one, economic and social development. Here again it's more of general nature related to current affairs, like various welfare programs carried out by the government and basic economic concepts. Suppose there is a case of 15 to 20 questions, since the weightage of economy is here getting increased every year by year. So normally 5 to 6 questions will be direct questions based upon the concepts from economy, but remaining questions will be directly asked linking them to current affairs. Okay, so current affairs, as you can see, will play an important role in both the polity section as well as economic section. Now coming to general issues of environment, here you have to take the keyword as general issues of environment, because he clearly mentioned, he didn't mention for these concepts, but here UPSC clearly mentioned that they do not require subject specialization. So it's enough like you're able to follow the current news of what is happening on environment and what is happening on biodiversity and what is happening on climate change. Okay, now coming to general science, generally people for preparing general science, they'll be starting with NCERTs reading from class 6 to 12. Again, the questions asked in UPSC will be hardly 3 to 4 questions, and that too what you find in general studies. I mean, the NCERT books of general science are way too much above it. I mean, UPSC will be going in one way, and the subject of the NCERT books will be different. So, for general science, you don't have to worry about NCERTs. We at Vignan IAS will give you a complete compilation of general science from NCERT books. So, apart from our compilation, you need not to go for any other book. So, this is in brief about prelim syllabus. Now, as I've told you, the way to only crack prelims is rapid revision of the basic books like NCERTs. Only when you revise constantly the NCERTs, you will be able to answer 40 to 45 questions. Once you're comfortable with that, then it's all about current affairs and taking more number of tests, as many number of tests as possible. So keeping in mind the importance of prelims, since around 10 lakhs people will be applying for prelims, and among them only 80 to 90,000 will be serious about the preparation. So if you get an edge of 10 to 15 marks above them, you'll be able to clear the prelims safely. So for that, first thing, coming to basic 40 to 45 questions of NCERTs. For that, at Vignan IAS, we have exclusive program in the form of stage 1. Now this entire program at Vignan IAS is new, designed by the new faculty. Okay, so at stage 1, the entire program will be dedicated to NCERT books. It will be for 2 to 3 months. We will be telling you as well what particular chapters with particular page numbers to follow from basic NCERT books. Got that? So the syllabus of NCERTs will be covered subject wise. Let me just give you a view of that. Here, as you can see, so in stage 1, which is NCERT program, taking each subject, taking all the NCERTs starting from 9 to 12th, we'll be dividing the entire syllabus weekly wise. We'll be even telling you what chapters and what page numbers to look out for. Now, based upon the covered week syllabus, the following week we'll be conducting short MCQ test of 25 each twice. That means for entire week syllabus of NCERTs, we'll be giving you 50 MCQs to answer. Thereby, by doing this way, if you are thorough with your stage 1, then answering those 40 to 45 questions without making mistakes, you'll have an edge compared to others who generally make mistakes in the basic stuff. So this is with respect to stage 1. And now coming to stage 2, after stage 1 got over, after you are clear with your NCERTs, which are very much fundamentals, then in stage 2, we'll suggest you with one reference book. Again, in reference book, we'll suggest you to divide, we'll tell you what reference book to follow, and we'll divide the chapters and syllabus weekly wise again here in stage 2. So once we are done with the syllabus of the week in stage 2, in the following week, we'll be conducting short MCQ test of 50 questions each. That is stage 2. All right. So by this time, thing is that you would have been very thorough with your NCERTs. Now going to reference book will be like value addition to your basic stuff covered in stage 1, and this makes your fundamentals strong. And once we are done with stage 1 and stage 2, then we will move on to stage 3, where this will be kind of overall comprehensive classes. We'll be dividing the entire syllabus into 6 stages. In each stage, there will be complete revision classes, followed by complete mock test series as conducted by UPSC. And now coming to the number of mocks, for prelims, we are going to conduct 18 mock tests for paper 1, and for CSAT, we are going to conduct 8 mock tests for paper 2. Okay. So is that fine for stage 1 and stage 2 and stage 3? Confirm it. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. So the same structure will be following for all the subjects: geography, history, economy, polity, and all. Okay. In this way, we have divided the entire program structure into 3 stages. Now, going back to the notification part, taking the hints from what he has given in the notification. Okay. So this is about your prelims exam. So current events, which is very much important, as I've told you. Now coming to current affairs, here again we'll be providing 3 days once class for current affairs, so that your entire 3 days current affairs will be covered. Next, even at the end of the week, we'll be having complete week's revision of current affairs classes. We'll be giving you even the handouts as well. So the students generally, what the mistake they make is that they'll be tend to reading hell lot of magazines without having clarity what to read and what not to read. So just to save your time, we are providing with our own handouts of current affairs, which will be provided at the end of the week, so that along with the static subject, you can even follow the current affairs on that week itself. Again, same as static subject MCQs, you'll be having MCQs on current affairs also. Hope I'm clear with paper 1 prelims. Okay. Any doubts regarding any concepts in paper 1 mentioned here? Let me know. Any of you have any doubt? Okay. Clear with prelims, right? Paper 1, paper 2, the subjects.
Yes.
Okay. Now moving on to mains examination, and I need all of you to pay very much attention here, because mains examination, people will be worrying like how to write an answer for the mains examination, or how to write a question for an answer, what to read in mains examination, how the faculty is going to evaluate the paper and all. So this is an important paragraph in the syllabus where UPSC itself is hinting at what he is expecting during the mains examinations. Okay. So reading these lines, it is told that the main examination is tend to assess the overall intellectual traits and depth of understanding of candidates rather than merely the range of their information. Whereas in prelims, they'll be testing your exhaustive knowledge of information. But for mains, UPSC itself has said that it is going to test your in-depth knowledge of issues. So UPSC has even given what they are looking for: general studies paper and optional papers. Now coming to the next paragraph in the notification. See, this is the most important paragraph where 90% of the students don't go through. These are the important hints given by UPSC itself. Now the nature and standard of questions in general studies, I told you paper 2, paper 5 will be in a general way that anybody with a general understanding of the issues can answer that. They don't need to have special study. But the thing is that while answering those general kind of questions, you have to answer them in depth. Okay, but that doesn't mean that you have to have specialized study. Having a very general grip on that, but in depth of the components will make you sail through mains. Now he or the UPSC is clearly mentioning here that the questions are likely to test the candidate's basic understanding of all relevant issues. Okay, first thing is that you have to have a basic understanding. Then you have to have the ability to analyze and take a view on conflicting socioeconomic goals, objectives, and demands. If you see the pattern of mains examination, most of the questions will be in this way. They will be giving you about a socioeconomic policy, or they will be giving you about a statement, and they'll be asking you to have your own conclusion for that. They'll be asking you to comment or critically analyze and examine all that questions. Okay, after that, most of the questions will be to test your conclusive power, whether being one who is going to aspire to be a future bureaucrat, whether has he or she have the conclusive power, or does one have the ability to give solutions. Okay, so they'll be giving some contentious socio-economic policies or welfare policies, and will ask you to analyze them critically and to tell your decision and have a conclusion on that. So this is what they are going to test you in your mains papers. And let me tell you one more thing. There will be 15 or number of questions will be there on mains or in mains out of 50 marks, and some 5 to 6 questions will be direct single statement questions type, where the questions will be of single statement type and you have to write the answers. But remaining questions will be double statement type. I mean, there will be 2 parts in the question, and unless and until you answer those 2 parts clearly, your complete marks won't be awarded. So you have to keep that in mind. So as I've told you, taking the hints from the notification is very much important. Now this kind of hints are given for CSAT, and now again for mains examination regarding what one is expecting from a student while writing answers for UPSC. One thing is that you have to have depth of understanding, then you should have the analytical ability, you should know about basic understanding of concepts, and you should be able to come out with the solution with a meaningful and correct answers. This is what mains answers format should be. So this is not like rocket science like what you should write in mains. These are all the requirements given by UPSC, and if you're able to put your answers in that order, then you're surely going to get good marks in mains. Now coming to optional papers, here you have to see the keyword. The scope of the syllabus itself is given. The UPSC has said that for optional papers, the scope of the syllabus will be more than degree level, okay, but less than master's degree level. Okay, so the syllabus range will be that it will be more in scope than your degree level and less than master's level in normal subjects. But when it comes to subjects like engineering or medical science and law, they will be restricted to the level of bachelor's degree. There is one more key point one should take from UPSC notification about the scope of the optional syllabus. Okay, so is everybody clear with this? Do you have any doubt on this? Let me know if you have any doubt regarding optional. Okay, shall I move on to the next one?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, now coming to qualifying papers. Qualifying papers on Indian languages and English. So these qualifying papers, they have similar sub concepts. I mean, like comprehension, then precise writing, then usage, then short essays. Let me tell you, here again you'll be given 3 essays and you have to choose one short essay among them. And you have to be very careful with this, because every year 400 to 600 students will fail to score minimum qualifying marks of 25%. Let me remind you, minimum qualifying marks for these both papers is 25%. That is, out of 300, you have to score 75 marks. And if you score 75 marks, your further GS papers will be evaluated along with the people who cleared prelims. Okay. This is all about precise writing, comprehension, usage and vocabulary, short essays. Don't worry, if you want some practice, you can solve last 5 or 4 years of previous mains papers of compulsory subject. I think that will comfortably lead you to clear these compulsory papers. Now coming to, as I've told you, for prelims we have designed 3 stages of program at Vignan IAS. Now coming to mains, since one shouldn't hamper their mains preparation during their initial days itself, So when we are going to carry our stage 1 and stage 2, so in stage 2, along with your reference books, for mains, we'll be dealing ethics and essay paper in stage 2 itself. Okay, so in stage 2, essay and ethics paper will be dealt along with reference books, and at the end of the week you'll be given 10 questions to write answers, and those answers will be evaluated by the faculty personally for your evaluation, so that even your mains preparation won't get hampered. Now, as I've explained to you about prelims syllabus, now coming to main syllabus. So in brief, I'll tell you about what are the concepts, syllabus concepts in all the GS papers. And in the next thing, we'll see about the sources to follow for each of the point in the syllabus. Now, after this session today, just note down, just download the notification and Google each and every term in the syllabus. See what you get out of that. Because syllabus is very much important, and this syllabus, if you're willing, just have a hand copy of two or three, so that you have to keep the syllabus in hand whenever you are reading any subject, or especially the newspapers. Why, I'll tell you now. Because take the sub-concept first thing, Indian culture will cover the silent aspects of art forms, literature. So this is like direct sub-concept where you can find from the static source of books. Okay. Now coming to second one, modern Indian history. This is also something kind of direct nature where you don't have to suffer much, because this is the same syllabus you'll be covering in prelims paper 1, but that is objective type. And now coming here subjective type, you have to write the answers with analytical ability. So if you're strong with your prelim stage 1, then writing these answers from stage 2 won't be a tough thing for you. Now coming to even the freedom struggle, this is also like more or less direct nature, where you can find the syllabus in many of the standard sources. Now coming to this thing, very much important, post-independence consolidation and reorganization within the country. Now the things which I'm telling you, like, very important, just distinguish with some asterisk mark or star mark or something, so that these are the concepts which you never find in any standard reference books. The only source for this is the newspaper, and that too, suppose whenever you are reading a newspaper and whenever you find similar terms in the syllabus as in the newspaper, immediately just separate that article from the newspaper and put under the syllabus this thing, post independence consolidation. If you find some news item, just think that, okay, so this comes under this part of the syllabus and I need to store it, because while writing mains you don't have any standard source for this. Now coming to next thing, history of the world. See, the weightage for history of the world or world history is very much less in paper 2 of general studies for UPSC. The question limit was initially only to 1 to 2 questions, and now even we find rarely 1 or no question, because in world history most of the questions will be of either general nature. So your rate of return on this is very much less. Suppose you find no time or you have paucity of time, so instead of reading hell lot of material on world history, it's better you just keep it in the first instance. And suppose if you just find time, then it's okay if you answer that in a general way, because only hardly 1 or 2 questions comes from this. So again, this thing you just mark it down in the notification and see that this is your last priority instead of wasting time. Okay, instead of that you can put your productive time on the static concepts. All right, next, moving on to the next one, salient features of Indian society and diversity of India. Again, this is like an indirect concept where you never find in your any standard